The body was found early that morning, sprawled in an empty lot. It was mutilated beyond belief, cut cleanly in half, as if by someone who knew precisely what they were doing. The face was worse. It was carved into a grotesque, permanent smile, mocking both the victim and anyone who would later see her. The pose wasn't random. The body was arranged deliberately, almost theatrically, as if the killer wanted to leave a message. Detectives who arrived at the scene struggled to hide their horror. Miles away, a telephone rang in a modest home. Margaret Short answered, her voice shaky with worry. Her daughter, Elizabeth, had been missing for days. "Hello?" she said, hoping against hope it was Elizabeth. But the voice on the other end wasn't her daughter's. It was a man's, calm, cold, and eerily composed. "I know where she is," he said. Before Margaret could ask anything, the line clicked dead. She gripped the phone, her mind racing, her heart sinking into despair. The Los Angeles Herald-Express received an envelope the same morning. Inside was a letter, pieced together from cut-out magazine words, "Catch me if you can. Here's something to start." It wasn't just the taunting words that rattled the staff. The envelope also contained personal items belonging to Elizabeth Short, a birth certificate copy, photographs, and a few trinkets. Each item was unmistakably hers, as if the killer had plucked them from her life to taunt the world. The headlines erupted. "The Black Dahlia Murder," they called it. But the real story was just beginning, and the killer had ensured everyone would be watching. Detectives George and Harry were assigned to the case, stepping into a whirlwind of media frenzy and public horror. It didn't take long for them to identify the victim, Elizabeth Short, a young actress with striking beauty and ambitious dreams. Interviews with friends and acquaintances revealed a complicated life, one filled with aspirations, heartbreak, and whispered secrets. As they delved deeper, George and Harry uncovered Elizabeth's connections to various men. A charismatic club promoter came under scrutiny, but his alibi checked out. Then there was a married doctor whose relationship with Elizabeth raised eyebrows. Each lead seemed promising, but none brought them closer to the truth. Instead, every discovery added another layer to the growing mystery. The autopsy report was grim. It confirmed what the detectives had feared. Elizabeth had been subjected to prolonged and deliberate torture. The precision of the cuts on her body pointed to someone with medical training. This chilling detail shifted their focus and deepened their resolve. They knew they were dealing with a killer who was not only cruel, but disturbingly methodical. The pressure to find answers mounted, but so did the shadows surrounding the case. The investigation took an unexpected turn when the club promoter was arrested after evidence surfaced at his apartment: a blood-stained handkerchief and a photograph of Elizabeth. It seemed damning, but his alibi was airtight. He was at a packed club the entire night of the murder, with dozens of witnesses to back him up. The evidence appeared planted, but by whom? The detectives were left with more questions than answers. Then, a new witness came forward, a mysterious woman who claimed to have been with Elizabeth the night before her death. She described Elizabeth as nervous, mentioning a heated argument with a man at a diner. Later, Elizabeth had left in a dark sedan with an unknown driver. The woman's account seemed credible, but before the police could follow up, she vanished without a trace. A second letter arrived at the Herald-Express, taunting the police once more. This time, the envelope contained another of Elizabeth's personal items, a ring and a map. The map led the detectives to an abandoned house on the outskirts of the city. They searched the property thoroughly, hoping for a breakthrough. Inside, they found strange markings on the walls and signs of someone recently being there, but no definitive evidence to link the place to the murder. It was another dead end. With each twist, the case grew colder, but the killer's shadow loomed larger. The detectives knew they were being toyed with, but giving up wasn't an option. The pieces were there. They just needed to fit them together before the killer struck again. As the detectives dug deeper into Elizabeth's personal life, they uncovered the struggles of a young woman chasing a dream. Elizabeth wanted to make it big in Hollywood, but reality had been unkind. Friends painted a picture of her as kind-hearted but naive, while gossip whispered that she used her beauty to manipulate men. Somewhere between these conflicting accounts lay the truth about her. One lead brought the detectives to a private, members-only club. Rumors swirled about the club's underground dealings, from illegal gambling to illicit affairs. It turned out Elizabeth had attended events there, and whispers hinted that she might have learned something dangerous. Was her murder a way to silence her? The detectives couldn't ignore the possibility. A breakthrough came when a witness reported seeing Elizabeth in a heated argument with a man shortly before her disappearance. The description matched that of the married doctor the detectives had been investigating. However, the man had left town abruptly after Elizabeth's death, leaving behind more questions than answers. The connection was tantalizing but frustratingly incomplete. George and Harry were left to wonder, was this man the killer, or just another piece in a puzzle designed to mislead them? A break in the case finally arrived when detectives searched the abandoned office of the married doctor. The room was a haunting tableau of evidence. Surgical tools were missing from their cases. Faint traces of blood were found on the floor, and a collection of photographs lay scattered across a desk. Among the images were women posed in unsettling ways, their expressions vacant and unnatural. One photograph, in particular, froze the detectives in their tracks. A young woman bearing a striking resemblance to Elizabeth Short. The hunt for the doctor intensified when a tip came in. He had been spotted boarding a train bound for Mexico. George and Harry raced to intercept him, but just as they closed in, the trail went cold. The doctor seemed to vanish into thin air, leaving behind a cloud of suspicion and frustration. Days later, another letter arrived. Its tone was mocking, its message chilling. "You'll never catch me," but she was only the first. The detectives knew the case was far from over. The killer was still out there, watching, and the nightmare was only beginning.